Hello and welcome to yet another episode of the WiGTyT Conversations. And yet again, we have an interesting discussion around what we wrote about in the article on 1st May. For those that haven't read it, I've put a link in the bio. Please go and read that article. I'll definitely give you a sneak peek, but it's important for you to read because our discussions really are founded on those articles. So we were talking about bridging the gap between the relationship of clients or Christian clients and Christian service providers. Not that we don't care about other service providers, but I think in the past few months it's been a boiling debate or a topic of interest. So I felt like we needed to have some discussions around it so that we bring awareness to some Christians who probably don't think that this is important. So just before I introduce our guest today, you will realize that the center of our discussions is about helping us become better Christians outside church, because we are ably supplied, we are fed in the church, but it's another thing for us to be functional, to be excellent, to be productive in the real world. And this is what most of our discussions are about. So today I have a wonderful guest who has experience in managing Airbnbs, and she's also good with business development and management. So I'm going to allow her to introduce herself, and then we'll have this rather interesting discussion. Welcome with me, Sammie Atugonza Patience.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much, Sam.
You're welcome.
It's an honor to be here. I am so excited and I can't really wait to talk about this whole thing. It's really a boiling event and topic to talk about. My name is Atugonza Sammie Patience, like Sam introduced me earlier. Professionally, I am a clinical officer. I have a background with health, and currently I am majorly dealing with management of Airbnbs and business development in different things like general supplies and other things. So I am excited to be here.
Beautiful.
Yes.
You know, you've mentioned something that has triggered another conversation, which I think I will have to write about one of these days. You have a clinical background, healthcare, etc. Why Airbnb?
Interesting. Very interesting.
Yes.
I think some of the things we learn, or I have learned from the medical background, is I have realized people do not take hospitality as seriously as they should. So somehow I have always had a business thing with. So one of the other ways to really delve into the whole hospitality thing is Airbnbs, because you are dealing with clients daily. You have to make sure they are happy, they are comfortable where they are, and they are getting the service that they are paying for. Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
So does that mean you're doing it alongside your healthcare background, or you decided to shift from this to this?
I am doing it alongside the healthcare background, but mostly on the Airbnb side.
Beautiful.
Yes, yes.
I think one of the other boiling conversations will be around career dilemma. And one of those days, we'll have it, because there's many people in there who are struggling with that.
Yes.
I studied this, I want to do this, I'm doing this. Does it really matter? As long as I'm putting bread on the table, we'll see. One day, one time. So you're welcome. Thank you for according us the blessing to be on this podcast and to share your experiences. Ideally, the whole debate around Christian service providers and Christian clients is not a thing that has started today.
Yeah.
It's been around. it's been happening, but a few discussions have happened, regarding the same. I thought for us to have these discussions on platforms that can help people become better, but also bring some sort of inspiration to the Christian world that this can be better. We can actually do better. Or we can be better.
Yes.
Because I believe it starts with being first, and then we can do better. So just a sneak peek from the article, we were saying that the spectrum of this whole idea, it reveals this growing dilemma. Like, many people are trying to figure this thing out, especially in the Christian circles. So you find that while Christian business relationships are often built on a foundation of shared faith, shared values, shared perception, sometimes they fall short. Like, they fall short when it comes to professionalism, accountability, excellence. Because we have a foundation of the Christian faith, some people throw out professionalism, some throw out accountability, some throw out excellence. Yet these are very important in building business and providing services. So in many cases, you'll find that there's an extension of grace instead of structure. Extending grace is not bad, but there has to be some sort of structure of doing things and systems, and then spiritual language used to justify cutting corners, or avoiding payment. I'm sure you've heard some of those Christian gymnastical words that are a little bit manipulative for people who don't want to pay for services.
Buying without money.
Using scripture to twist, really, it's quite interesting. But it begs the question, the big question. So I was saying, are we truly stewarding our business relationships in a way that reflects the character of Christ? When you look at the way you are doing business, or the way you are dealing with people who supply services, are you really demonstrating the Christ-like way? Because sometimes when we don't reflect, we continue with the flow and we end up conforming to the standards of the world. And yet the Bible has warned us about that. So in this article, we were really unpacking this growing tension between clients and suppliers who are Christian. We're exploring the role of stewardship in business and biblical recommendations for how these sides can raise the standard together, both clients and suppliers or service providers. That's just a sneak peek in what we have in the article. Now, delving into the discussion, what has been your experience dealing, since you are on the side of the service provider? What has been your experience dealing with Christian clients in particular? I'm sure you've had many who come to, be hosted. But sometimes it's easy, well, from the get-go, like if someone is making a booking, sometimes you can know if they're Christian, or maybe they're friends and they're Christian. And then there are those you don't know, they're probably not Christian. If you compare the behavior, the management of your facility, what experiences have you had with our dear people?
I'm going to start from the thing that you mentioned from the article about accountability, professionalism, and excellence. Yes, I feel like the mother of all these things is accountability. You can't be professional if you're not accountable. You can't be excellent if you're not accountable. So at the end of the day, it's the thing you talked about, being yourself first, before you really pour into those other people. So you can't really serve or you can't deal with these clients if you are not being accountable. And it really goes back to so many other things. The way we are raised, the way we deal with our environment, the way we really take in all these things. So these clients that we deal with, someone will approach you and be like, I need to book this, I need to stay for this long. Now for the Airbnbs, it's interesting that we deal with people both on the app, because there's like an application where they can, and then there's like recommendations from people. Someone calls you and like, I had a friend of mine, they need to get a place to stay for this long, and you get to talk to the client. But the thing about clients is they will come to you and they seem honesty. Okay, let's actually talk about honesty before we get into any other thing. If someone is not really firstly being honest with themselves, they can't be honest with the person they are dealing with. So if a person comes with this whole mind of, I have this much money, but I want to squeeze out this person to a certain point, people do not value other people's arts and crafts. That's also another issue in the service and business world, because people don't value each other that much. They do not think people they are dealing with deserve to be accounted to or accountable. Yes. So the whole issue is around honesty. If a client comes to you and they want to book your place for like a month, and they do not actually talk about the time they want to stay, they talk about all these other things. Oh my God, your place, they are complaining about the place before they even actually talk to you about the place. And you're like, I thought, of course you're not going to tell them the things you're thinking, but you're like, I thought by the time you're coming to me, you had a good recommendation or something of that sort. So they are making your service look like it's not enough, and they are I don't know if that makes sense. It's like they are trying to help you and yet you are giving them a service.
Yes.
I understand it's a give and take thing, but there should be respect, honor, and honesty. So the issue is really around honesty. Like, how honest are you? Do you really want to do business, or you are trying to scam someone into something? Yes.
So I'm seeing two things. That because we are different,
Yes.
Service providers have this challenge of trying to please every kind of client, because what you call a good Airbnb,
Yes.
after setting it up, might be a different story for me.
The client, yes.
So that means that as a client, I have to know what I love, and have the respect to say, okay, this is what I love, but this is what this person has. So I either stay there or not.
Yes.
Rather than staying there and then I'm complaining about everything. Yeah? Because why I'm saying that, I think one time I tried to sell clothes. And then I realized that the choice of the clothes I was selling was heavily dependent on what I think is good, or like my choice design style.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yet for different clients, they all have different design styles for fashion and etc. So I'm seeing that you have the trouble to wake up and say, okay, different clients have different desires, but this is me.
Yes.
And I'm going to do this because this is me. Which means you are allowing yourself to lose certain clients who might not like your style. But then also on the side of the clients to understand that because of your different taste, the service provider might not do everything you want in the Airbnb, and that there should be that kind of respect. That if you don't find what you want, then it's okay to use another place.
Yes.
Rather than trying to bring someone down. I get what you're saying.
Yes.
So, in that same process, how have you dealt with some of those clients, especially if they're Christian? I'm really heavily bending towards the Christian ones.
Yes.
Because we need to help one another.
Yes.
So when a Christian has that kind of attitude and they have come to you for this kind of arrangement, how do you deal with them? How has this whole business venture trained your heart to deal with such people?
You talked about grace somewhere in your somewhere in your conversation.
Yes.
So yes, we extend grace, but you also get to understand that yes, people are Christians, but they are people before they are Christians. I don't know if that makes sense. That they came from certain backgrounds, they have certain experiences with life, and they are certain people before they met Christ, if that makes sense. That someone could be still growing in a certain area of their life. So this is going to kind of pour into the way they deal with people, the way they associate with clients and other people around them. So when someone comes to you and they are in a certain place, first of all, you try to understand this client. Where are they coming from? If they are complaining about something, is it really genuine? And can I help them? If it's a person that you know on a personal, level, you could try to get down to the nitty-gritties of what the issue is, because you have that relationship. But if it's someone you like got from a recommendation or something, you're actually just going to find a way of reasoning out the whole thing with them and trying to make them understand that it is okay for my standard or your standard to be lower than the others. That you will try to make them understand that you get, I could have something that you need, but you necessarily don't have to take it because it's either because people have issues with cheap things. Sometimes people think cheap is not up to standard or expensive is, up to standard and all those things. You can only try to get to someone, whether they are a Christian or not, but in this case, a Christian client, by really relating to them as a person beyond this person is a Christian. You need to understand their values and where they come from so that you can touch the core of what is actually the issue. Because usually we treat symptoms without really treating the actual cause. Because at the end of the day, we are stewards to the people that come in our lives, the people we deal with. At one point, someone in your life is going to come to you, and what you give them is going to affect how they deal with other people. So the grace, you extend grace. You find a way of, if they are hot-tempered, you find a way of talking to them into submission, quote and unquote. You find a middle ground, really. Yes. So the extension of grace and relating with them as a person before looking at them as a Christian.
Yes.
Yes.
I hear you. And I'm thinking right now, the people who are doing this thing and it's working, and they're probably Muslim or Indian or Asian, the people we see doing this thing and it's working, I'm now asking myself the question, do they treat one another as Muslim or human being? Indian or human being? Because then that creates some sort of respect for everyone's endeavor. Yeah? That yes, you are a Christian, but the fact that you need an earthly service
Nice. Yes.
makes you human enough to be respectable to the person giving you the service. So then let's not use spiritual language and manipulation. Like you said at first, that people don't respect people's crafts.
Yes.
Because that's one of the things that I actually wrote about on the side of the clients. No, on the side of the service provider. One of the issues was that the fellow Christians don't honor their effort and time and energy in their creative innovations or business ideas and whatever. So I come to you because you are my friend and you're Christian. I'm like, Sammie, I need a house for some friends who are coming into the country, but I have 50K. Yet your Airbnbs are probably 100 or 150 Uganda shillings per night. In my giving you 50,000, the brain is telling me, since you are Christian, you will understand. Or, I mean, we are friends and Christian. You see, it reminds me of something. When I had just started WiGTyT, one of the friends I have, I think we were talking about friendship, and then he told me that it's your friends who should be like giving you more rather than asking for discounts. So this is the mind. That if I've started this thing and I'm probably selling, let's say, like the cards that we sell, and a card is 20,000 for women conversations. And then because you are my friend, you're like, why don't you give me one for free? Since we are friends. Or reduce score up to like 10 since we are friends and Christian. And I had never seen it the way he explained it, because I was like, well, actually, if you were my friend, you should be giving me 50K to say, in support of what you're doing, 20 and more, because I need this to go, I need this to spread, I need this to,
It has to work.
And of course, I have seen people come through who are really supportive, they'll be like, let me support this way, let me support this way. God bless them. But then it begs the question, why is it that some Christians easily think the other way around? Like, since Sam is doing this and he's a Christian and is my friend, he should be able to give me a pack for free. What do you think creates that entitlement?
I love how you put it, entitlement, because it actually is entitlement. It's a delusion that comes in people's heads, and they think just because we are Christian, we are not subject to these principles and patterns that actually govern the world. We think we are going to pray through it. We are going to, find ways around it. There's nothing wrong with prayer. There's nothing wrong with these things that we do as Christians. But when we misuse them, then we are abusing the things that are supposed to come with them. If you're going to abuse my relationship with you with the thing of, oh my God, I am your friend and we are Christians, then really someone who's not a Christian and understands these principles is better than you, quote and unquote, because we can't use the excuse of scripture. We can't use the excuse of the things that we have been taught in our churches to break the relationships we've had with people, to break all these things, because we have been taught well so that we can be better people. So if you find a Muslim or any other person in any other religion relating with someone better and not having this thing of, I am entitled to a discount, I am entitled to this because I am that, then I think the issue is not really being Christian. The issue is the people.
Thank you very much. Because that disclaimer explains something that I wanted to emphasize. That the problem is not Christianity.
Not at all.
It's not Christianity. And of course, when you read the article, The title is Christian Business Relationships. But the problem is not Christianity. It's like how you would say that there's a teaching, a doctrine about grace. But people are misusing grace. The problem is not the grace that God has given to us through Jesus Christ. It's that particular individual who hasn't understood it. That is a problem. Which means that we as Christians need to understand that Christianity is not the problem. And it even has all the principles that make business what it is. Because you'll be shocked that almost all the principles in business are biblical. But it's the people who are using those principles in the Christian circles, probably due to lack of understanding or maturity or whatever, that are misusing these principles. Because once we put that and make that clear, then we have no excuse. We are helping a business, a supplier, a service provider to learn to deal with fellow Christians using the very principles and structures that the Bible has defined, so that they don't complain or give an excuse or blame the Christian clients. But also helping the Christian client to know that the things the Bible has given us to do business with other people should help you to be a better person, so that you're also not manipulated to be given a bad service, but also for you not to treat the service providers in a way less of what is expected, Because what I've seen is that if the challenge is with the Christian client, like you've said, they might treat another person in a better way. They might even pay them way more than they have paid their Christian service provider. So if we, actually the other thing I want to emphasize is the stewardship that you talked about, that we are being stewards for all these things. I am a steward to a service provider. A service provider is a steward to the client God has given to them. So how you treat them, how you serve them, is part of your kingdom values,
Very true.
So if you don't look at it that way, then we begin to have these issues. Now, as a Christian service provider, what structures have you set in terms of working with your clients? Now, probably this could be either Christian ones or not, because they're all clients at this point. So you as a Christian service provider, what are some of the structures or values or boundaries that you've set to work with clients?
Interesting. Just like you said, stewardship. Us being stewards helps us to know how to deal and put the right boundaries. Because when you have a mind of a steward, you have this thing that I am firstly taking care of who the other person is on the receiving end as much as I would want to be taken care of. It's not about the thing of, oh my God, I need to get this all. It's not a selfish mindset. And that's the thing people need to know, that as a steward, you are selfless. So with a selfless mindset, if I'm going to put certain boundaries for my clients, they have to serve us both with equity. Not just because I am taking the client's money or they are the clients that are available. Whether you get that one client once in like a month, you treat them like the biggest client you always have. So the boundaries you put, you make sure that communication, people think communication is the continuous talking. It's in the quality of what you say. It's not just the quantity of everything. If you are communicating, you have to listen as much as you want to be listened to.
Yes.
So are you hearing your client, or you just want to do what you think is right for the client? Are you choosing for the client, or you're actually listening to the demands of the client? So the boundaries that you put are healthy for both of you.
Yes.
You need to be aware of yourself as much as you are aware of the client. So communication. How well are you communicating? How well are you reaching out? Is it just about your business, or it's about the people consuming your service? There's that. And then make sure that there's excellence in what you're doing. It's not just because you need the money. Yes, the money is always going to come because there's always someone who wants your service, whether it's up to standard or not. There's always someone who's going to, but because we have a certain mentality, a winning mentality, you can't do things that are substandard and expect a certain excellence, because it's a value embedded in you.
Yes.
It will come out in the craft that you have. So that is a thing that because you have created that environment within yourself. The values and the things you put up as you relate with your clients, the systems, they really are being poured out from yourself. What are those things that you have really built within you? Are you excellent? Do you really have the spirit of excellence? Are you doing these things because you know this is the right thing to do, or you are doing it because, it's the bare minimum? No, we are past bare minimum. So all these things at the back of your head, you build certain boundaries. I will call them boundaries because, to me, boundaries are inviting things. When you create healthy boundaries, they are more inviting than closing out people. Yes. So the more you actually, when you work on yourself as a person, the structures that come out of you are intended for the well-being and the equity of other people.
Yes.
Like, as much as you are pouring out in Airbnbs, you make sure that if a client wants their pillows organized a certain way, it's a small thing. You will not think about, oh my God, it's too much work, or like, it's beyond you. It's not just you. It's not about you, really. At the end of the day, you have to be selfless as a service provider. Yes.
Wow, that's amazing. You've reminded me of something that a certain man of God taught us recently.
Yes.
I think it was on Men Gather. He said most of the visions that come out of men are burdens that God puts on their hearts. And whether it's a business vision or a ministry vision, it's primarily a burden. Like, you feel heavily about something. Yes. And then you have the answer for it. And that's what you give to the world. And then you find that the people who pick that follow you. So when you say how you are worked upon, like how you are defines how you pour into the business idea, makes sense. Because if these things are not innate, if they're not in you, if excellence is not something in you, if accountability is not something in you, if professionalism, which is a kingdom, a godly thing, it's an act of worship, if it's not in you, it's hard for you to then kind of propagate these things into your venture, whatever it is. Whether it's an Airbnb, because like I said, our differences are also defined by very many things. I might enter your Airbnb and you feel like it's smart according to you, but that's heavily dependent on your exposure. It's dependent on your personality. Yeah. If you're, for example, a very, very clean person, you probably have OCD. it might be probable, most probable, that your space is, simple is enough. There's a table, it's like a chair. But then there's another person who is so floral, in their character. They live under the table, there's a flower, under the chair, there are plants.
Corner.
You get it? So if that then can describe how someone decorates their place, how much more these other values. So if we are different then that way, that means that all of us as clients and service providers, we would firstly have to have some sort of self-awareness, which takes me back to our previous episode, for those that didn't watch it, about self-awareness. Because the more you know yourself, the better you are able to provide a service. The more you know yourself, the better you're able to work with service providers if you're a client. Self-awareness does a lot in helping us bridge this gap. Because if you don't know yourself, then the choice of words, how you treat people, it will just be a whole other lot of confusion. But it's important. But it also helps us to accept who we are and then define which choices to make. Like I was saying earlier, that if I know myself and the things that I like and how much they should cost, then I shouldn't go to a service provider simply because they are Christian and then want to demand this and this from them if they can't offer it.
The service that you need,
You see? Because my choice is informed by the things that define me, my values, my preferences, etc. That if I'm to support a Christian service provider, I better be making that choice out of the consideration of my values, my level of exposure and understanding. Otherwise, I tread my own path of disappointment if I'm demanding something from someone that can't actually give it. But also on the side of the client to say, or the service provider to say, that you know the quality of your service. You know the market that you've created your service for. So it helps you then to separate this business from the emotional considerations of life. To say, okay, this brother or sister is a Christian, but according to the quality of my service, they might not be able to handle or to manage to either pay for it or something. So one, either I'm not going to bother giving it to them, or I'm going to give it to them in consideration that they're not going to be able to manage the whole stretch. So I'll be able to give this, and you communicate it like you were saying. The quality of our communication then becomes, what boundaries am I setting clearly for either the client or for the service provider I'm dealing with? Or if I'm giving this kind of service to this Christian client, how far can I go to stretch? Because I know them. I know what they can handle or manage. Something like that. Some of those considerations help us to bridge this gap and not to overly assume that because I'm dealing with a Christian, they're going to understand. No. In fact, one of the service providers said, they said that Christian clients, claim that they will give us exposure. So if I'm doing, for example, if I'm a decorator and I'm doing your wedding, and church people are going to come to my wedding, I'm giving you exposure. Like, people will know it's you who did it. So you will get business. Justifying their low budget.
Oh dear.
You get what I'm saying?
Yes.
It's very unfair. Because the person you're dealing with is getting things from wherever, hiring them or something. So if they've given you a budget, if you can't manage, it's okay to tell the person, you know what, your budget is on the high end. I'm not able to do this or to work with this. So I think I'll not consider. It should be on the service provider to say, okay, in consideration, I'm going to do this for you. It's understandable.
Yes.
But it's unfair for you to say, you're my fellow Christian.
That's manipulation.
You get.
That's manipulation.
You're literally using the cover.
Yes.
What we said is not a problem because Christianity is not a problem.
Not at all.
It's this particular individual who is using Christ. I mean, all things are mind. God help us. Yes. But you get my point.
Yes, I really do.
Yes, so I hear you. And I hope we can be better.
Yes.
Because the doing is obvious. But I hope we can be better. Now, Sammie.
Yeah.
With your passion for hospitality, and your love to see people like taken care of in terms of welfare, and the thing, that passion that keeps you going in that business.
Yeah.
What are some of the things you think we can consider as Christians? Yeah. Because I believe that you as a service provider, it's not really about making money like you are saying. There's a purpose to it. There's a vision you have. There's a way you want the people who come to your Airbnbs to feel. Yeah. What are some of the Christian practices that you are doing to make sure that happens? Let me just expand a little bit. Why I'm asking that question is because many Christians don't want to involve God in their Christian businesses. Yes. That's why partly we have that challenge, because they feel like God only has a say in my church affairs.
Quite interesting.
Yeah. But when it comes to my business, my relationship.
Yes.
So what are some of those things you've allowed God to really take charge of?
That's a very nice question. It's just the thing I really want to make clear is that Christianity, to me as a person, is a holistic thing. It really takes root in everything of my life, like my business, how I relate with people and all that. So you can't come from church and put God aside and then go for a business meeting. It doesn't work like that. So, because at the end of the day, the Bible tells us that the Spirit will teach you what to say. So in that time of saying, if you put God aside, who's teaching you what to say? So there's praying. When you have people you work with, you make sure that they understand what Christianity means to you, and it is the foundation of the business. We need to go past the thing of, oh my God, what if a client doesn't believe in Christianity? And we need to embody that and be okay with it, because it's the thing that makes us us. Yeah. So if we can't put it aside. So the things that I really try to, embody in from my Christian relations and all that, first of all, God has taught me personally how to be patient with people. You can't extend grace when you do not know the God that gave grace.
First, yeah.
Yes. Because you are drawing from somewhere. Just like I said, we can't pour into things when we don't have the thing that actually feeds us. So I draw from God. So the grace that we extend, you can't extend grace that you do not understand as a person. Yes, something could have gone wrong. Maybe a client is having a bad day and they're lashing out. They don't even know that they are actually lashing out. They just have this thing that went wrong. They could have had a bad business deal. And they come to you. They may be subconsciously lashing out. But how do you deal with that moment? So how you take it in and make sure it's not a thing of, oh my God, how could he talk to me like that? He's coming, I'm helping them. And you have to look beyond your emotions. That's the thing I was trying to mention. service provision is a selfless thing.
Yes.
So you look beyond yourself. So you can't know these things when you've not let God deal with you a certain way. You can't extend grace. You can't be patient with people. God teaches us how to talk to people. You just can't talk. I don't know. You can't be before greatness and you're speaking more than them. You have a business deal that someone took you into and somehow it's going well. How do you come back and relate with them? How do you appreciate them? It's beyond the lunch you take them to appreciate them. It's how intentional you become to keep this relation. It's all the small things that are in there. It's not just about the prayer and fasting. All these things are very important because they have made us who we are in so many ways, but they will not show if the results of who your person is to people is. You can't say you're a Christian or you are embodying the Christ and you're not, I don't know, kind. Kindness lately is a thing that people are not familiar with, interestingly.
Yeah.
And I think being kind is really, really, at the end of the day, we're going to go back to being selfless. At the end of the day, if you are not looking beyond self, you can't provide a service.
True.
So whatever it is that God is working in you, patience, long-suffering, love, kindness, and all these things, they have to come from that place that he has taught you to see beyond yourself. Yes.
So in summary, you're saying that as a service provider, in your experience,
Yes.
provision of a service is foundationally selfless, even as you apply professionalism, accountability, excellence.
Yeah.
But it's selfless.
Yes. And we are not taking away from the fact that people will want to use you and manipulate you because you are selfless. But this is helped with the boundaries you've built.
Yes.
Because,
structures.
Yes, the structures and all these systems that you've built around yourself and the businesses that you are interacting with. Being selfless does not mean you're naive. Being selfless does not mean you're not informed. Being selfless does not mean you do not understand how certain things work in certain places. Yes.
Recently we were in a conference and the CEO of MTN, that wonderful lady, said, she asked a rhetorical question. She was like, why are we apologetic for being Christian in the workplace? Because businesses that are owned by other people, they are not apologetic. If it's 1 p.m. and it's their time to pray, you'll pray. If the meeting was ongoing, it's up to you guys. It's time to pray.
Yes.
And we won't say, we'll be like, oh yeah, cool. But for us, I feel like, as they say, church begins on Monday. It's important for us to know that we are actually supposed to be more Christian outside church. Because in church, we are coming before the throne of grace. And I'm not saying that we be reckless in church. I'm just saying that time on Sunday, when you come to church, it's when you come to be serviced by God.
Yes.
You're going for service. Like we take the car for service. You are going to church for God to do more in you, to change you, to all these things, so that by the time you start Monday again, you are well serviced, 5,000 mile, ready to hit the road kind of Christian, who is kind, who is demonstrating the fruit of the Spirit, all these things, which should be the attitude of all of us, either as a client or as a service provider.
Yes.
Praise the Lord. Anyway, as we finish, there's something I wrote in the article that says that if we are to reflect God's character in the marketplace, both Christian suppliers and clients must commit to higher standards it's a commitment issue.
Yes.
That we are both committing to higher standards. That as a service provider, I'll commit to give an excellent service, but also as a client,
Yes.
I should be able to pay for such a standard, respecting the effort of the service provider, have the exposure enough to love nice things and, nurture excellence. That's one. Two, fueled by a sense of stewardship and mutual accountability. Of course, stewardship is the foundation of all these things, but also mutual accountability. Yeah. So I feel like as we continue to learn these things, there should be some sense of understanding in all of us that God has called us to His life for us to do better.
Yes.
Because we have the grace, we have the wisdom, we have the understanding to do better as Christians. Then we can now talk about being the light of the world and examples,
We can't say all those without leaving.
Sammie, give us your parting shots.
I am firstly going to recommend people to actually watch the previous episode because it talks about self-awareness.
Yes.
And just like you have been saying, it's important to be aware of who you are before you give out anything.
Yes.
Or you pour yourself into whatever it is that you're pouring into. So firstly, build yourself as a person, as a service provider, because you are firstly a person before you become a service provider. And building yourself as a person makes you a better service provider and a better client to whichever service provider you have. And secondly, let's not use our traumas to relate with other people. Just because a certain Christian service provider or client was a certain way to you does not mean the next Christian service provider is going to be the same. So let's move past that. Let's extend grace. Yes. And it was lovely. It was lovely. It was lovely having this conversation.
It was lovely because you have given us lovely ideas and we appreciate you for that. I think mine will be that professionalism is spiritual, guys. So if you're talking about being spiritual, get it from me. That to be professional too is spiritual.
Yes.
And there's a reason why Jesus paid taxes, for example. Regardless of how miraculously he got the taxes,
he still paid
them. And when those coins came out of the fish, they had scissors, So let's be professional and really consider every other thing that we are doing, whether in the business world or as clients, as acts of worship. As acts of worship. It's really to God, not just to the people we are dealing with. So thank you so much for joining us on this episode. Thank you, Patience, for giving us time and sharing your wisdom and your journey. And we believe that you'll be back here with like a consortium of business ventures.
Yes.
We are glad to have you.
It was an honor.
God bless you guys. And if you're there and you've never given your life to Jesus Christ, yet you're doing business, I think right now is the best time to do it. It's never too late. The Bible says you believe in your heart and you confess with your mouth. You believe in your heart that Jesus Christ is Lord and you are saved. So if you're there and you've never made that confession, just repeat these words after me. Say, Lord Jesus, I believe in my heart that you are the Lord and you died and you rose for my sake. I believe in my heart that you are my Savior. From today, I am born again. If you said that small short prayer, you are born again. Find a Bible-believing, teaching church and be discipled. If you don't have one, I'm going to put a link in this bio and you follow it and you'll be helped to grow in the life of salvation. So thank you for joining us. Until next time, who is God to you today?